Hello everyone, welcome. It's time. I'm gonna make a cosplay of our favorite gay coquette hermitcraft AU avian, which is, of course, none other than Cuteguy for my Halloween costume. Or at least it was Halloween at the time of making, because this video took me quite a while to edit and animate. But since it's November now, Ddvau, in fact, I can just say it was all part of the master plan. If you're not aware, Desert Duo Vigilante AU, or Double Hearted, is an AU based off of Hermitcraft's Cuteguy, Griant, and Hotguy Scar characters. Cuteguy is part of a Vigilante resistance group, and Hotguy is, basically the police. They're kind of like rivals here, but they also kind of have the hots guy for each other, so yeah. Cuteguy's kind of a snarky, pesky bird who's a type to F around and somehow not find out. He and Ddvau as a whole have taken over the electrocuted rat in my brain, and I mean, Cuteguy is kind of the epitome of gender for me, so it's like, yeah. So it's time for me to make like an artist and release all my pent-up inside thoughts into the world the only way I need to know how. So here's my sketch of what I'm gonna try to go for. It has some minor modifications, but like, we'll get into that later. And the cherry on top of this perfect storm is that I have 2 weeks or so to finish the project, so I apologize if some parts are rushed. But that's enough 2D, let's go to real life now. Alright, so first things first, I'm gonna start with Grian's like sleeveless turtleneck thing. So that's basically, I already have one of these which I made earlier. It's basically just, this is what it looks like, and I'm using a knit jersey fabric because it's like super stretchy. You can easily stretch it like twice its length, its original length, which is really important if you want to fit your head through the top. For the measurements, they're pretty simple, and it's a super forgiving fabric. For the width, it's going to be the circumference of your waist divided in half, because they're just going to be two panels basically that are like almost identical, and subtract maybe ½ an inch to a centimeter just so it like fits snug. For here, you're actually going to measure from your collarbones all the way down to where you want the shirt to end for one measurement, and then add on like however much you want the like neck to be. Okay, for the armpits, it's the same idea. However, I do think for this, it was like going onto my arm a little bit. So I'm definitely just going to reduce this just a little bit when I do it again. And then for the back, well, they look the same, but whatever. For the back, since Cuteguy has wings, I'm going to like scoop this a little bit outwards. Even though I'm not necessarily going to be making the wings, if I do want to make them in the future, it would be like a good idea to do that. I'm going to trace this onto the same fabric with the adjustments I said I would make, and yeah, I'll see you then. Now that we have these pieces cut out, it's time to go and sew them together. It's pretty simple, just sew along the line, and don't get silly and accidentally sew like the head part together, or the arm part together, because I know I would do that. Just use a zigzag stitch so that there's still some sort of stretch, especially for the neck. And yeah, that's about it. Now, before I start the hemming, I did a test fit and I realized that I couldn't fit my head through this, because the thing with this fabric is that it stretches more one way, like 2 times one way, and then maybe like a third the other way. So I realized that I couldn't fit my head through this because I cut it in the wrong direction basically. So I added these like gussets basically, like 2 inch or so, with the more like stretchy direction. And I just wanted to point that out. But yeah, other than that, it looks pretty good. And now we're just gonna hem this with a zigzag stitch, like just like inwards, just like that, and then like sew down here. Alright, so here's the final result with the stitching, and that's what it looks like on me. Okay, so up next we have the pants. And luckily for me, I already have a previous pattern that I made of the pants, but they are in fabric mode, and it's been a while, so I don't exactly understand what all the lines mean, but it's okay, I'll figure it out. Now, I could explain the pattern and like how I did it and stuff, but I kind of just copied it from some other tutorials on YouTube, which I'll link. So I'll just go over the changes that I made. So what was really important was, especially for the side seam, I had to like extend it out some, because a lot of the tutorials that I found, they didn't extend this, and it made it hard to like
sit down in some instances. So the side one was expanded. Like this is the crotch area and this is the side area. Additionally, I made sure to measure the, I know what it's called, the crotch seam, because if this isn't the length you want it to be, which I think I might have miscalculated or something, but that's how it was for me a few times, it's not fun. It's not fun. Additionally, it's not perfect, but I have the bottom seam, which I'm gonna work on like flaring out a little bit more. And one of the things I didn't see a lot of the tutorials incorporate is a elastic, even just on the side. And that's fine, but if you're gonna be overdosing on Halloween candy like me, I suggest that is included in some shape or form. So that means instead of this top bit curving inwards a little bit to like sort of match your waist, it's gonna be straight outwards, and the extra bit the elastic is gonna be here, and the extra bit is gonna be like cinched in basically. So I'm gonna do that, but I'll also be keeping the zipper as well because I want the zipper. I think it looks cool. Again, I will link actual tutorials that are like professional and like measured out and stuff because I don't really know how to do this, but I'm gonna just make a mock-up of this with like old t-shirts I have lying around, and then yeah, we'll check in from there.
You can turn 2D things into 3D things, they said. It'll be easy, they said. I don't know what's going on. I'll see you in a bit.
Okay, I think I figured something out. So basically what I did is I took the original pattern, and since it was basically to my knees, I cut off like 5 to 7 inches, like 5 inches from the like crotch line, or like what's that, like 14 centimeters for freedom haters. And with the other side it's a little bit more, and I also extended it outwards because I want a bit more of like a flare in the sides, so I did that. This is the front pattern, as you can see, with a little pocket here. And this is the back portion, and this is going to be gathered like 4 inches. I'm not doing it on the front part because there's a pocket right next to it, and that wouldn't work. Again, this is also cut off like 5-6 inches or something, and it's also extended in the sides, and since this is going to be gathered, it's going to have like extra flare. Mind you, there aren't really measurements going into this because there's really nothing to measure it against, so I'm really sorry if you're trying to follow along. I don't know what to say. But yeah, I also try to include a slight taper. It's less visible on here, but a slight taper going down this way, so the crotch part is going to be basically more lower down and the sides are going to be up. I don't know. I think it makes for a better silhouette, so that's also part of it. Okay, but yeah, just time to just sew this together, and I'll see you then. Okay, now before I move on to actually sewing it together, I just want to talk about the waistband. It's gonna be this curved, like cut out of a circle piece, and that's kind of important because if it's just a straight like long rectangle, it's not gonna fit the waist basically. Trust me, I've tried that, it didn't work. But it can be an artistic choice, of course, but in this case I am using curved waistline, so the inside part is gonna be circumference of my natural waist, and the outside is gonna be like 2-3 inches under that. So just wanted to add that. Okay, the pants mock-up is done now, and I have a few changes I want to make before that I'll implement into the final product. So, first of all, I think the crotch seam here, it's kind of weird. I don't like it, and I think it's because this part is too far back. So I'm going to move the back piece forward 1 inch, which should make this a little bit shorter, and I think that'll fix like the curve or like whatever's going on here. I like the flare thing on the edge. I think like expanding the edge out looks pretty good. It's kind of like a skirt, but it's not a skirt, so I don't know. The elastic is also good. I attached this by just like stretching it out a lot and then sewing it on, so it looks a little bit wonky, but it's like a test, so it's fine. I think I'm gonna add maybe like another inch of elastic, so it'll get about like maybe 10 inches of fabric is gonna be gathered into 5. This is just so it fits on my waist better because it wasn't fitting like perfectly before. I'm also going to add 1 more inch of fabric to the backside like this, just so it'll fit on my natural waist better. That was just a small change. Yeah, but now I'm going to move on to the final with the cotton fabric, which is just basically seam ripping this and just like putting that pattern onto the cotton fabric. It's kind of convoluted, but I don't really have the good prototyping fabric, so this is what we got. Now that I'm cutting out the pant pattern, I think it's a good time to talk about what I'm going to do with like the ribbon stripe in the middle of Cuteguy's pants, which in my opinion is like one of the coolest parts of their design. It's like really unique, and I better not fudge it up. So what I'm thinking is, looking at Cuteguy's design, it seems to be like a long ribbon and then little ribbons crisscrossing, and I'm not exactly sure how that would work. Maybe it's like some sort of corset, but I don't see any grommets on the side. Or so it could just be the ribbons are just like sewn on, which I think is all right, especially like because it's a simplified design. But I think it'd be really cool if I actually went with the grommets idea and then sort of did ribbon like crisscrossing like a corset. Yeah, something like that. Here's a little drawing I did, just like drawing over the mock-up pants. And for that, I'm going to be using this pink mesh. I'm going to cut this part out, and then I'm going to put pink mesh in the back of it so that when the ribbons go over it, the pants won't like pull too much and deform the ribbons. At least that's the idea. It might not do anything at all. I have no idea. Yeah, so that's what I'm doing, and the space I'm cutting out is probably like 2 inches off the top, maybe a little bit less than a third of this whole entire front seam, and then the bottom is I think a bit more than a third, and maybe like 5 inches or something. I don't know, but it's going to be flared out a little bit just to like exaggerate the form, and I think it'd be more interesting than just going straight down. The ribbons are also going to be getting bigger, and hopefully I can somehow figure that out. I'm thinking of using like a satin and then just cutting out like a big strip that gets bigger at the edges, something like that. I think this all would look very cutie patootie, but for now, I'm just going to worry about cutting out the prototyping pattern onto the final fabric and then cutting that out. And then, yeah, like, I don't know, pockets. Cool. So I have all of the pieces cut out, that is, except the pockets. So the cargo pockets on the side and the pockets that are like in the pants, basically. And for that, I have this pattern right here, which is like pretty good. Generally, pockets can be different sizes for your own purposes. But for me, it's like, is it enough to fit my phone in it and not have it jab into my waist when I'm sitting down? And this is like a pretty good size for, I'd say. Now for the cargo pockets, that's kind of a later problem. That is until I like sew more of the pieces together, and then I can actually see how much space I have. And I just also don't want to do it right now. So these pockets are great and all. However, because of the nature of the pants with the mesh in the middle, if I were to sew these on, they would show through under the mesh, and I don't really want that. So looking at the side of the front, so this is the side with the pocket, and then the mesh, and then more pants. I could make the pocket like this thin, but we are not cosplaying women's clothing here, so I'm not going to do that. I could make the pocket black because the leggings under this mesh right here are also black, so like wouldn't show through. But at that point, I think it would be better to just sew the pockets directly onto the leggings. This will also save down on fabric because like I don't have to do 2 layers of this to put inside the pants. I think that would be better. Okay, so I'm mostly done with cutting and sewing up the pocket bits. And before anything, let's give a round of applause to my curved rolled hem because I prepped, cooked, and served that meal, if I do say so myself. And by that, I mean I got up and ironed it because I don't know, that's a lot of effort for me for some reason, but yeah. But anyways, how this works is that these are anchored here, the satin, so I can reach through here and then reach under this fabric, and then that's like where my pocket's gonna be. But I haven't sewn it yet onto my leggings because my leggings don't have a side seam, and I don't know where the side seam of the actual pink pants are gonna lay, so I don't really know where to put this yet. So that's probably gonna be one of the later steps. Okay, but for now I'm gonna be working on sewing the front bits together, so the mesh and these pink parts, and then we'll talk after that. Okay, I'm done sewing up the sides, and honestly, I think it looks really good. I just want to point out like the nice, like frothy salmon smoothie colored, okay, like peach colored stitching that I have going down the sides. I really like that. I know it's like those videos where they have a perfectly intact door and then it zooms out to like the whole house being burnt down. They're like, oh my god, my like whatever. I just like picking the color of the stitching. I think it's a nice detail. But anyways, now that these are done, before I start sewing it together, I want to add grommets, and they're like comically large. I think, well, not even comically large. They're like half an inch on the inside. But I'm gonna have 6. I think I haven't marked out 6 going down each side, evenly spaced, and which I think will be fun because I like hitting things with a hammer. And yeah, it should be pretty simple. Grommets is like just like a top part and a bottom part and like a washer in the middle, and you just like hammer them together. It's pretty simple. I think it'll be fun. And yeah. Okay, so now the grommets are done, and honestly, it's kind of looking like one of those big, like, I don't know, shoes, like those Jordan shoes, or like the white ones. Whatever. I'll find a picture. But no, the grommets are done. They look really good, and some of y'all may have noticed I also finished sewing up like the front and back seams, and the side seams, just for fun. But also, I have this like red lining that I added onto here. This is because originally when I was trying to put the grommets together, the thing is just like this grommet is like so dummy thick that when I press down on the sides, it doesn't completely connect. So with these, I can like stick a fingernail into it, and it still like rotates. It like rotates around, and it's not fun, and I don't like that. Okay, see, I can put my finger like it spins. It spins. It's not good. So I added this like red plush minky. This is just to help it have a little bit more padding between them so the grommets are secure and won't move. So what's next now is I'm going to sew in the waistband and put in the elastics. But first of all, here's the waistband. So basically I'm going to use a method called stitching in the ditch. And first I'm going to attach this part of the waistband to this. Also, I didn't add, just remember to pick the midpoint of the waistband right here and then attach this to the midpoint on the back so there's extra space on the front. That's kind of important, and I didn't say that, but yeah, do that. Okay, now that the waistband is sewn in on one side, it's time to do the elastics. I'm using 4 inches of elastic that are going to stretch 5 more inches. And so that means when I wear it and it unstretches, it's going to have 5 inches of like gathered area basically. I have each like quarter area marked out, and then same with here, marked down here, so I know how much each area is supposed to stretch. So first I'm going to sew down these anchoring lines at the desired endpoints, and then I'm going to stretch this out to the desired length while sewing over it, maybe like two right here. Now for stitching in the ditch, how this is going to work is I'm going to take this and I'm going to fold it under like this and pin it. But when I pin it, I'm going to pin it under the line I sew right here. Just a little bit under, like that much under. So then I go onto the other side, and then I'm going to stitch in the ditch basically. So this line right here. And when it transfers to the other side, it's going to have like this much of seam basically. Okay, now I've got the waistband sewn in, and before I'm like basically done with the pants, there's a few other things I want to do. So one of them is of course hemming everything. This is just like, it's a very simple rolled hem, whatever. I'm also shortening the waistband and adding like 2 snaps here just so it closes properly. Oh yeah, and I want to put in Velcro for the pockets because they keep like popping out here, and I probably should have seen that coming, but apparently I didn't. But in the meantime, By that I mean I don't want to do that right now. Let's do something else. I'm going to do the ribbons. These are pretty simple. I'm going to do a rolled hem just to make sure they don't fray. And the general shape is going to be sort of a U curve for the pants because the ribbon at the very bottom is a lot thicker than the ribbon at the top. So I'm going to do that with a U curve. Yeah, so hopefully I have enough fabric for that. Oopsies. Okay, so after a while the pants are done. I got like the snaps to close them. I have Velcro here and it's all hemmed and honestly it looks really good. I also just sewed these pockets onto the leggings. Pretty simple. They work. It's kind of ugly, but whatever. And also this took me like 2 hours for some reason, but I have the ribbons. This is just 2 long strips, about 80 inches or so, and I'm gonna start threading them through, like tying shoelaces, threading them through here. Okay, however, I am kind of worried that since the ribbon's gonna be going behind and over the mesh, it might look weird, because in my reference, that's not how it's drawn. However, it is not very apparent, and if I need to, I can like cut a hole here and put the ribbon through there, but we'll see. This is something I can do a tutorial on. I can do the bow. I can be good at tutorials now. I'm gonna do one loop right here with like maybe half left of the ribbon, and then I'm gonna cross it over. And then this is gonna go over, under, and it's gonna poke through on the hole I just created in the back that exists. And then I'm going to pull it through on the side, and of course it looks a little wonky right now, but I'm going to do some adjustments, such as flipping it so the satin side is up. Okay. Oh my god. Oh my goodness. I can also give the back like a pull just to make the whole thing tighter. Okay. Yes, I'm just adjusting it to like flatten out the ribbon, so it'll be more poofy like that. Give a little pull, I think this way. Oopsies. Okay. Okay, but look how cute this bow is. It's not perfectly symmetrical. That bothers me. But look how cute it is. Oh my goodness, I love this bow. It makes the whole thing worth it. Okay. I still haven't hemmed the edges right here yet. I think that's okay though. Like I'll hem them later, of course. But yeah, no, it's cute. Time to do the other side. Alright, so I'm done with the other side, and instead of having the ribbons kind of twist to make sure the soft side is always up, I just kind of flip them over so you can see the back side, or like the wrong side, I don't know what I call it, underneath here. And I think this looks a little bit better because this is twisting and deforming, so the ribbons can be more full, basically. So I'm actually just going to undo this other side and redo it like this side. And while I'm at it, I'm also gonna hem this. I was gonna do some sort of pattern, but I think it honestly looks pretty good as is. Okay, but yeah, that's what I'm gonna do for now. Alright, after adjusting up that last ribbon, dare I say it, but the pants are done, which is so exciting because this was probably like the hardest part of the project. Well, at least so far. I will say the bows were like sagging downwards like this when I wore them. So I put a little safety pin here. I guess it's like cheating, but like I really don't care. It looks good, and that's what matters. But yeah, here's how it looks on me, and it is time to move on. Okay, and now it's time for the gloves, and I'm excited because it's gonna be easy, hopefully. So what's going on is I've traced my arm onto this piece of paper, and what I'm doing is I'm periodically measuring the circumference of like a certain area of my arm, and then dividing the difference by 2 and then just adding these little chunks onto the side. Why I'm doing this is because like when you look at a circle, the diameter is shorter than half of the circumference, because like pi or something. I didn't like math that much, something like that, and so thus this difference needs to be had. As for the gloves part, canonically Cuteguy has these like fingerless gloves that cut off at the knuckles, but I think it'd be very cute if I did it sort of like this tapered shape, and this is what it's going to look like on the back. And then on front I try to mark it with the little slashes here, but it's going to be like a ring of fabric on the middle finger, and then this is going to be scooping down, because if I go like this, if I squish my hand, the fabric is going to bunch up and that's going to make it weird to pick stuff up. So I just kept this on the back. For seam allowance, it's going to be like 1/2 inch for everything, except maybe this part. I'm thinking about it. I might not do seam allowance. I might not hem it at all, just because the fabric doesn't really fray. That's cool. Pretty easy, pretty simple. Yay.
Alright, and now the gloves are done. They're honestly really comfy. I kind of like them. I might wear them when like it's cold out, but yeah. Here's a picture of the full part, and you might notice that the end part isn't like the reference. And I did try to cut like the little heart shape or something in the top, but it kept flipping open, like because like structural integrity or something. But that's okay. I just did like a normal curve, and I think it's fine.
Okay, so after cutting out all the ribbon for the pants, I have just a tiny sliver of 3 inches of ribbon left, because I manage my space really well. And with this, I'm gonna make the like neck choker thing. Unfortunately, since this is all I have left, I can't do the ribbon for the arms, which I do think it's okay, since that way it would be more accurate to the canonical Cuteguy design. Honestly, it's pretty simple. It's just folded over, and I thought it would be worth mentioning. So for the Cuteguy weapon, I have 2 options. Number 1, a Nerf gun that I found lying around. This definitely looks most true to the original, and I could just spray paint it hot pink and like add the highlights, which is pretty easy to work out. However, I do live in America, and carrying a gun around, even one that's painted hot pink and doesn't look like an actual gun, is not gonna fly. So this one's gonna be only for glamour shots, and I will be getting a slingshot, which is not with me right now, and I'm gonna see what I can do with that one to just like play it safe. Okay, I'm done with the Cuteguy gun, and honestly, I think I kind of cooked. It looks really good, and I'm really proud of it. I started by using the hot pink spray paint, just like all over it. However, it might have been that I didn't sand the surface, or maybe the spray paint just wasn't for this type of surface, but then it started clumping up and then not drying and getting really weird. So then I tried a white primer over it, which is like for a different purpose, and it worked a lot better. However, since there was already the pink spray paint underneath it, it got like clumpy and cracked in some places. It's not really noticeable now. So then I had to rip off all of the spray paint, just like scrub it off, and then put the white primer on again, which was loads of fun as one can guess. No, but yeah, then it turned out pretty good. It was like smooth sailing from there. And I even wrote my name for this cosplay on top, just in case if I lose a gun and I'm like, I don't know which gun is mine. So I try to stay true to the original design, like mostly. However, I did replace the blue with gold as like the highlight, basically. Okay, because in Cuteguy's entire design, the blue appears like once, and then other than that, it's mostly purple. So I think it would just mesh better if I just used gold on this, because I'm also using gold in like accessories and whatnot. Also, the sheen, I did a gold dry brush with the paint, and I really like how the sheen looks. I think it's so bedazzled. Okay, but yeah, that's the gun. And I also got the slingshot right here. It's like an actual slingshot. And unfortunately, I don't have it in me quite yet to spray paint this entire thing hot pink. So I honestly might just like... or like put a bow on it or something, but I don't really want to mess with the metal for this one. But yeah, those are the weapons. All that's left is just making some sort of pocket in the pants to put them in if I have the time and motivation and all that fun stuff. Now it's time to do the wings, and unfortunately I'm only going to be doing Cuteguy's face wings, and I'm not going to do the actual massive wings on the back because that's like a whole nother battle to fight, and I don't have time to do that. But anyways, so here are some of the feathers I have dyed, and some feathers I just scrounged up from like those assorted bags of like rainbow feathers. When I dyed these feathers, some of these were light colored, like light pink and light purple, and I think they look really good. They're a little bit less vibrant than these, but that's okay. However, when I was dyeing some of the feathers black, so the thing is with black dye, black is just the presence of a ton of color, or like of all colors, so it could just be a really, really dark color. In this case, it's a bunch of colors fighting for dominance, and one of them clearly won. It looks really green, and I don't really like that, so I'm going to try to avoid using these like green tinted feathers if possible, but if I do have to, I don't think it'll be a big deal. But the first step of making the wings is that I'm going to draw out the real sized wings, and then I'm going to work out like the wire, the foam, the whatever from there on out. Okay, so far this looks a bit complicated, but I personally like to think that making custom animal inspired wearable art runs in my veins. Yeah, so what's going on is I'm trying to copy the pattern of a parrot's wings. I've also drawn this, like, there's a lot of tutorials on this online, but it's sort of like taking the gag trick thing with the boxing glove on the end of these like crisscrossing beams. But I'm taking this and I'm gonna draw this over this, and hopefully this will help it close, because I know if I just cut out a sheet of EVA foam that looks like this, it's not gonna be able to close. And I think that's something I really want. I'm thinking I might want to put some EVA foam on the on this armature here, which I'm going to make out of wire, because I also want the wings to be able to curve inwards like towards my face. So I want to add some chunks on here, so this will have more surface area just for the feathers to be glued onto. And I'm going to be using this wire, and I think I might double or even triple up the wire, because I want it to be bendable, of course, but I don't want it to have that thing where the foam or the feathers is stronger than the wire, so I bend it inwards and then it slowly bends back out. I really don't like that. So I'm going to see how much wire I can do. And as for the joints, I think I just might wrap a smaller wire around it. I don't really need this thing to be super precise. I just need it to sort of be able to fold inwards and outwards, and I can just like guide it to make sure it stays. So for now, I'm just gonna start tracing out the wire on here. But yeah. Alright, this took me a little bit, but I just traced the wire over the drawing, and this is what it looks like so far. I've only doubled up the wire, but since it's doubled, I also curled a third wire around it just to keep it together, and also to make sure that these parts right here don't slide around. When I push it together, it looks something like this. Oh, and I forgot to mention there's an extra joint here that I didn't draw in. This is just to ensure that these two parts don't come like this far apart. Yeah, but this is what it looks like so far. It's not super easy to bend, but that's kind of the point, since I replace all of the joints with like little curly things. But yeah, I think it looks pretty good. It holds its form well. It should be able to support some feathers and foam. But before I do that, I have to do 3 more, which is gonna be a lot of fun. Yeah, so I'll talk about foam once I'm done with the rest of these. Alright, and now I'm all done with all 4 of the wing armatures. Here's what they look like. They're like pretty much the same. And then I started experimenting with where I wanted to put foam in order to anchor the feathers. I tried to get areas that aren't like subject to bending or just anchoring it on one part. Okay, and then when I bend it, it looks like this from the back, and then from the front looks like this. And then for foam, I have a few options. I could use a somewhat thick foam right here, or I could use the extra thin foam, which I think would be better, but it's also white, and since I'm using black feathers, it could show through. Okay, so this is what I think I'm gonna do with the wing shapes. As you can see, I shaved a lot of it off because I just don't think it's necessary, because it's mostly gonna be feathers anyway. And it's gonna be two-sided, and for parts like this, I'm gonna see if I can just mirror it and then fold it over, and I think that would stick better, as I'm using a combination of hot glue and super glue. I have painted the thin foam black just on one side for now, and I'm gonna see if I can copy paste this all over, and hopefully I'll have enough. If not, as you can see, I'm getting desperate, and I'm gonna see if I can cut the thick foam in half, like with an X-Acto knife, and then I can continue to use that. But hopefully, if I manage my space well, if I Tetris it together, I'll be able to have enough foam to do the wings. Okay, now that I've gotten all the pieces traced out, and holy crap, it was very, very close. I even had to shave off some of this paper at the end just to make it fit. But against all odds, I did. But now it's just time to cut out all the parts and then fold them over and then glue them onto the part of the wings. Alright, the foam is now done, and honestly, I think it's looking really good. There is one like anatomical error that's bothering me a little bit. There should be like a strip of feathers here. However, since it changes length when it extends and gets smaller, I wouldn't know how to do that. Okay, but yeah, now for the feathers, how it's gonna work is I'm gonna have the first layer here, and then a second layer on top of it, and then a third layer on top of that. In norm terms, this would be the primary and secondary feathers, primary and secondary coverts, and then the marginal coverts and the lula right here. Yeah, I think it should work out pretty good. Each wing is about 60 feathers with an equal distribution of black and pink feathers. And in total, it took like 6 hours, which you wouldn't think like, oh, you know, take a feather, glue it on, blah, 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 60 times would take that long, but apparently it did. So it was a long 6 hours, that's for sure. Unfortunately, it turned out a little bit more straggly than I would hope. Like, some of the back ones have like a lot of random fluffs poking off of them, and the feathers don't all go in the same direction. I feel like this is kind of unavoidable because I had like an assorted feathers bag. So there's some really fluffy feathers and some that like I like the shape of more, but it is what it is. Okay, alright, one wing is done, and while you weren't looking, I did the rest of them and attached them all to the headband. So yay! Honestly, I think they actually turned out pretty good for someone who's like never done anything with feathers before. And I like the gradient, like the magenta to the hot pink. I really tried to push that, but I was running low on feathers, so apart from me maybe wrapping the wires better because they're kind of poking out a bit, I think it's good. You know, it's really quite simple. Okay, but yeah, no, these are done, which is so much fun. Hopefully the very last step of the pants, I'm going to make 2 pockets, one on each side, one to put the gun and one to put the slingshot in, because I don't want them like swinging around when I'm trying to walk. Basically, how I did this is just by referencing one of these paper bags that like fold outwards, but they also lay flat. And I'm just going to basically make a box to go around this. This is going to be math. I'm going to take the measurements of here to here. And then I'm going to take the length of the fabric right here, and then that's one side. And if I subtract it from the measurement I just took and divide that by 2, that's also the other 2 sides. And for the gun, I'm going to go about like 6 inches up, so like basically halfway. And now the measurements I have is 4.5 by 2 by 6, and with a little 4.5 by 2 square attached to the bottom, which will like fold in. And for the slingshot, it's basically the same thing. It's 2.5 by 1.25 by 4.5. And I'm also going to cut out like a 2-inch little strip right here just to be like the cover over the pocket. And I'm going to have a long strip of fabric that'll attach to the back and then go through the handle and then snap onto the front just to keep the gun from wiggling around. Same thing with the slingshot, just back, through, pretty simple. Okay, I'm done with the pockets. And did someone say snaps? Oh boy. Okay, how this is gonna work, for reference, this is an in snap and this is an out snap. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put an in snap on this part with the shiny pretty part facing outwards, and then an in snap also on this part with the shiny part facing this way. And then I'm gonna put an out snap right here where they align, so when the pocket is just closed like this, it can be snapped like this. But if I have like the slingshot in here, it can be snapped like this. Okay, capiche? Okay, so the pockets are done, and here's how they look on me. And honestly, it went more uneventful than I expected, which is a really good thing, because usually pockets are like held to sew on, especially when the pants are longer. But no, these are pretty easy, and I like how they sit on the body and how they like have the little poof out when they're just closed normally. I think that's pretty cool. Okay, but now the last step, and I swear it's genuinely the last step of this project, is to be accessories. And I'm not gonna go too crazy with it, but I have these cute little like eye bracelets and eye necklaces. And honestly, I think it could work really well if I sort of incorporated them onto it. Okay, but I just have this random chain, and I think I'm just gonna insert the eyeballs periodically, and it'll be like a necklace. Same with the wings. And I'm thinking of having the eye charms attached by chain to the armature here and then like dangling. Could it be like, oh my god, he's doing the Watcher Green thing? Like, no way. But yeah, I mean, I love the eyes and I need to use the eyes because I just have the masculine urge to put eye charms everywhere. Yep. Okay, the necklaces and the wing dangly things are done. And honestly, it took a bit longer than I think, because it's like the chains are like kind of hard to detach and stuff, but whatever. It looks really good. It's giving like, you know, let's calm down, let's take some deep breaths and do some square breathing. You know, be not afraid, anyone. Let's hope so. As for the wing dings. Okay, so halfway through I decided to do this like curvy thing, which I really think like worked well. And honestly, I feel like that's like the last thing I need to tie the wings together, because it's like the movement on the head really helps draw the eye to like the wings in part, as opposed to the pans, which are like one of the more complex parts of the cosplay. So I think it's good that's having draw the eye, because like quite literally it's like eyes up here, everyone. And honestly, that's like everything for the cosplay, which I'm really excited. It's done. We get to do glamour shots, and then I get to go to bed and not wake up.
All right, it's over and I'm feeling so yippee. In total, the costume took about 50 hours over 2.5 weeks, and here's the breakdown. I'm so happy it's over. It was a rough 2 weeks, but I got a banger costume out of it, and I'm surprisingly not burnt out. And I guess I also showed myself that I can, in fact, do challenging things, regardless of if I'm the best ever or make the best thing ever, which is reassuring. But that's enough yapping. On to the glamour shots.
enough. Thanks for... Okay, we're going back. Alright, thanks for watching all of my ramblings, you homosexuals. If you perhaps found this video or me charming, or maybe even funny, please consider subscribing, because I think I have like 0 subscribers right now or something. But yeah, if you're watching this, that means I did not break my ankles in these 3-inch heels. And obviously we know how we're ending this video.